Hi, my name is Andy Fish, and I'll be interviewing Lauren Satcher for her post-interview for her lesson with Mr. Overbeck's class. Did the students learn what you wanted them to learn, and how do you know that the students learned or did not learn what you wanted them to learn?
Yes, so the students did learn what I wanted them to know because I asked in my learning goal for the students to demonstrate their knowledge of point of view through the activities and other things I gave them. And I could tell that they learned this through the blind surveying that I had throughout the lesson, the large group discussions and questioning, and the collection of their worksheets at the end of the lesson that I graded, and it showed their knowledge.
Right. Did you depart from anything you had planned to do during the class period, and if so, why?
Yes, I did. So at the beginning of the lesson, I planned that some students probably wouldn't know the story of the Three Little Pigs, but when they all raised their hands and said they did, I was like, okay, so I guess we don't have to go over the, sequence of how the story went. Sorry.
If you could teach this class period over again to the same class, what areas of the lesson do you feel may need improvement or modification in order for the students to better reach the learning goals?
I think during the reading, because I didn't know that the students would already know the story, the questions that I asked, I wish I would have known, because I asked a lot of predicting questions, but they already knew it was going to happen, so I wish I could have gone back and gone over that. And then another thing was, after the reading, I had a little discussion, and then we had a quotation activity that I had them do, and I really wish I could have explained it a little bit more, because they were a little confused about how it connected to the lesson, so I would like to do that over.
Okay, and again, same thing, if you could teach this class period over again to the same class, what parts of the lesson do you feel were successful and why?
I think at the beginning, the sequencing was really positive. They really understood it, and it really helped them remember the story of the Three Little Pigs before we went over it again. And also, the discussion between reading the book and doing the quotation activity was really positive, because it really showed how they understood it and how this was going to further their understanding of point of view.
What have you learned through reflecting on this lesson that will help you improve future instruction?
A huge thing was that everything does not go as planned, because I like to plan, but when it came down to it, there were a lot of things that I didn't expect, like how they had already read the story or they had already done these things, so I had to adjust to that, and you have to be able to think quick on your feet, so that was a huge thing I learned.
Definitely. How do you think John performed today?
He did really well in the class today.
What have you done for this student that accounts for this performance?
Well, he already had learned point of view a little bit, so he understood it, but he was able to apply it in the new ways that I had him, that I taught it. So, he was able to explain to me what point of view was, but then once we did the quotation activity, he was able to demonstrate his knowledge of it, and the worksheet he also demonstrated.
Okay. What might you try with John in the future to develop his further learning process?
I would definitely teach him in a similar style, because that clicked with him. But I'd also give him more challenges to further expand his knowledge, so to help him with that.
That would make sense. How do you think Arshdeep performed today?
He did well. He struggled a little bit with understanding the directions I gave, but he did well.
In what ways would you have attempted to support his learning?
I like to work one-on-one with him a lot, since he is an ELL student, to help further his understanding, because he may not understand the directions I give in the large groups. He understands them better when I sit down one-on-one and talk to him, so he understands it.
What might you try with him in the future to support his further learning?
Well, I really want him to participate in large groups more, so I think I'll call on him more when we're doing large group activities, to see if he's grasping the content and what I'm teaching at that time, to make sure he's understanding it in the large group rather than just one-on-one.
Okay. And before we move on to questions about your interactions with colleagues and parents or guardians, I would like to get clarification on some aspects of the lesson I observed. Can you explain to me a little more about the quotation activity in the reading area?
Yeah, so I had the students, we went over the point of view of the original, The Three Little Pigs, which is third point of view, and then we read the story of the true story of the Three Little Pigs by the wolf, so that's first point of view. So I really wanted them to show how they understand the difference between the two point of views in that activity. So we had them do it from the little pig's point of view to show another first point of view, but how the difference of perspectives can really change the story and how they talk about the story.
Okay. Sometimes teachers seek the advice and assistance of other educators to improve their teaching skills or to meet the needs of a particular student. Who are some of the educators with whom you consult?
Well, my mentor teacher, Mr. Overbeck's a huge person I always talk to, and also the class that he switches with, Miss Eckler. I've talked to her a lot because I work with her class a bunch, so I talk to her.
That's good. And provide a specific example of when you sought advice about your teaching skills or about how to meet the needs of a particular student.
Well, in the class that I was teaching, there's a student, Juliana, who really doesn't pay attention much, and she likes to mess around, and she just has a lot of behavior problems. So I've talked to Mr. Overbeck a lot about it because when working with him, I've struggled with how to really get to her and make her understand it and make her want to learn because she doesn't. So I've talked to him about the best way to communicate with her a lot.
That's good. And so what types of advice or assistance did you receive from that?
Well, he tells me that proximity is definitely key with her because the closer you are to her, the more she'll actually pay attention to you, because if you're in large groups, she'll like to not pay attention whatsoever. So if I come one-on-one with her and I get closer to her, then she'll look at me and understand I am an authority figure that she needs to listen to. And also, I need to shut her down when she starts to mess around, because she likes to act out and do all these things, and it's if you shut her down from the beginning of it, she will understand, okay, she's not okay with this, I won't do it this way. But so that's a huge thing.
Alright, do you collaborate with colleagues outside your classroom in order to coordinate learning activities or address other concerns? And if so, why and how?
Yes, Mr. Overbeck is a huge one also because he's mentor teacher. So I like to collaborate with him a lot about how I'm teaching his class, since it is his class and he understands them better. I like to talk to him about how I can further their understanding of things and stuff like that.
Okay. Could you provide some specific examples of activities and discuss how the activities were planned or structured?
Yeah, so in the lesson that I taught, we discussed the worksheet I was going to hand out because his classes only learn first and third point of view, and worksheets that I found had all first, second, and third points of view. So I talked to him about how I could change the worksheets to fit his classroom better and his classroom needs better, and to further understand what his students understand to help them.
Okay. What forms of communication do you use with the parents or guardians of the students in this class?
Well, in the beginning of the year when I first started working with this class, I sent home a letter to explain what I was doing in the class, how I was going to help Mr. Overbeck, how I was going to be working with their students. And then at open house, I've also talked to some students' parents in person.
That's good. All right. Well, when do you communicate with the parents or guardians?
Well, at open house,
yeah.
Clearly, like I just said, when they come in, I definitely talk to them a lot to understand their relationship with their students, as well as when they come in for field trips or parties that we have in the classroom. So I went to a field trip, and there were parents that came in chaperone, so I got to communicate with them some, and then also for parties when they come in, I get to communicate.
Okay, and describe a couple of situations when you've communicated with parents or guardians regarding specific students.
Yes, so at open house, I talked to a dad of a student, her name's Sophia. She has a lot of struggles with paying attention because she has an IEP that she has different accommodations for. So he really talked to us about the different things that she has to go through, her different medications, how they're going to affect her, and how it's going to make her behave in the classroom, and how she just has these tics and a lot of struggles. So I talked to him, and he helped me further understand what was going on with her. And then I've also talked to students' parents at field trips, just about how they're doing in the class, and how they're a pleasure to have in the class. So that's it.
Okay, is there anything else you feel I should know about today's lesson?
Yes, so when I went to read the story to them, I asked if any of them had read it, and they all raised their hand, and I was not expecting that whatsoever because they hadn't read it in Mr. Overbeck's class before. So, it was I had to definitely change what I was doing, and like I said, with asking questions during it, my questions that I had sort of thought about before weren't exactly what I wanted them to be because the students already knew what was going to happen. So I wish I could have redone that part and really thought about better questions to further their understanding of it. But other than that, it was a really good lesson for my first time.
Awesome. Thank you very much.